To me, when I go back to where it comes to customer service and experience, I'll have a referral that says like, hey, I was a guest at so-and-so's wedding and it was beautiful and they referred. So even with my clients, especially with my brides, if you book us, I'm sending you a bouquet of flowers. I'm just saying thank you for booking us. The majority of my brides, I always send something. Or, if you're coming back multiple times, especially when it's cold, I'm always sending like e-gift cards. So I really make sure the experience is great, and then that word of mouth really helps in us booking.
We document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
Maxine, welcome to the Venue RX. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm excited to chat about occasions on Main and hear your story. Thanks for being here today.
Awesome. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm so fired up and excited.
Well, I'm really excited to chat with you. Could you tell me just a little bit about your venue, and then we'll dive into the details of how you got into this business. And so, start off with some details of your venue.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you again, as I mentioned before. Occasions on Main, we've been open since March 2017. My husband and I purchased the building. We're actually a 6,000 square foot building that has 2 venue spaces. So our smaller space, which we call the TV room, hosts about 40. That's really popular for dinners and baby showers. And then Occasion on Main, which is the largest space, holds up to 150. And we do everything from weddings, corporate, graduation, even repasses, birthdays. We're an all-inclusive, so all our services are under one roof.
That's awesome. So when you say all-inclusive, when someone's booking at Occasions on Main, they're getting catering from you, they're doing the planning, photography, videography, all of those services you're handling.
Absolutely. It makes it very easy, seamless. And a lot of our clients and our demographics want just like the one-stop shop. So it's like one check, one invoice, and you take care of all the details.
I am so excited to dive into how you do that and how you make all that work. Because I know for some folks hearing that, that could feel a little overwhelming, so I'd love to hear your experience with that. But could you take us back and take us like pre-2017? What, inspired you and your husband to purchase the building, start in the wedding and event industry? Give me a little bit of your professional and personal background leading up to the venue.
Absolutely. Well, I'm based in Atlanta, but I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. And I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I went to school for business economics. I actually knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, didn't know what it was. I wanted to be an archaeologist, but my mom said there's not a career in that. So I kind of diddled around, ended up in Atlanta for a business opportunity that fell through and just kind of led my way through corporate. I actually stumbled into the event industry. It was almost like a knack. Like anytime someone was planning something, they'd always, hey, Max, can you help me? If someone's doing a birthday party, it was almost I stumbled into the industry. I started managing other people's venues. So it's kind of weird because it was almost like second nature. It was almost like customer service, making sure you're available. It was almost like second nature that I stumbled into it, but I started helping other venue owners at the time just manage their venues and just create a lot of marketing ideas to attract clients. And it was successful. It was literally by chance. It was successful. I didn't really know what I was doing, but it was successful. And one of the venue owners that I used to manage said, I'm very talented. I should own my own venue. And I said, absolutely not. I don't want responsibility with the mortgage, bills, vendors. I didn't want that responsibility. But the opportunity came that it led that I kind of outgrown managing other folks and I wanted to take the risk. And about 2016, we started searching, and then we stumbled on this historic building that we transferred into a venue space. So it was really by chance, but I do have a business background and I'm very intuitive per se. So I really kind of like listen, don't want to be cliched, but listen to the universe kind of deal. And then of course, once I decided that this is what we're going to do, then of course I, researched and nothing better than YouTube University and trial and error, of course. Really, it was really a lot of trial and error, but we got a good system in place and we've been successful since 2017.
That's awesome. I'm excited to hear about your time in the industry because obviously you went through COVID. a couple years before, a couple years after now. And I'm curious to just kind of hear your insights and how the industry's changed. Before we get to that though, I'm curious, what were some of the pain points and kind of things that you didn't like about managing other people's venues? And I'm asking that because I think we might have some venue managers who listen to the show and maybe they're in a similar place that you were back then, right? But what sorts of things are you experiencing that kind of made that difficult and made you really start considering owning your own venue?
You got to consider when you're managing someone else's business, you definitely have to take leadership from that owner. So, as a venue manager, you're the face of the business. Even my venue manager today, they're the face of the business. But sometimes if my vision doesn't align with the venue manager vision, it will create conflict. So as a venue manager, you also have to ensure that you're interpreting the information eloquently to the venue owner, meaning like, say there's something or a service that's not being successful, it's up to the venue manager to kind of know how to communicate that to the owner. So I kind of found myself in situations where, I'm going to be honest, as the venue manager and, you're there for a service, but the owner has to pay bills. So sometimes, that clashes where this is ideal, but from an owner's perspective, things on the overhead to be taken care of. So that communication line sometimes can be strained from passion versus business. But I remember I used to counter that a lot until now that I'm actually an owner. Then I understand where certain decisions that were, I wasn't privy to. Now I understand that certain decisions were made because of the business to keep the door open, not necessarily something that has to be done that may be good for the business. I hope that makes sense.
No, it totally made sense. And honestly, you're the first person that I've talked to on this show that is so, I think, clearly articulated that. I definitely know that there is a friction between, being an owner and knowing you've got that $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month mortgage you got to pay. You got to pay utilities. You got to pay those things. But then a lot of times you're probably not the person that's there at every single event, happy reading what the customer is saying, right? So I hear what you're saying about passion and then about the business decisions that need to be made. So if you had to give some advice, and this is a pop question, so I didn't prepare you for this at all, but if you had to give some advice to your younger self, who's managing venues for those folks, and now that you know the things that you do know about venue ownership, what advice would you give yourself or maybe other venue managers that are listening to the show?
Compassion. I think, compassion and patience and more understanding, because looking back when decisions are made, I may not understand, but now looking back, I would say patience and show more compassion to an owner, because it's a lot of stress to make sure payroll is being met, even if you're not ownership, but even like leases and rent, there's a lot of strain and stress that I did not know and privy about. So, I may be saying something like, we can offer, fresh flowers or something like that in a budget that I see that it could be allocated. But, the owner may say, we can offer, full flowers just to save in that couple $100 because, the light bill is due or payroll's not being met. But I didn't understand that. So looking back now, I definitely would have had more compassion to the venues I managed. I was very successful at doing that, managing the venues because of my passion, but showing more compassion and being patient and really understanding that, as a venue owner, sometimes it's prideful that you may not have the finances or maybe not have the ability to understand that the business needs to be run efficiently and may not want to communicate that. So just being more compassionate and understanding and knowing that, okay, if this is happening, there must be a reason, because those responsibilities, especially when I first opened, it's no joke.
Yeah.
Especially payroll. It's the real deal, So it's like showing more compassion, being patient. I think I would tell my younger self that.
That's huge. That's such good advice. Take me through 2017 to here we are, recording July 2023. What was your process like? I want to ask a little bit later about marketing and sales and some of those different things, but kind of give me your story of the growth that you had through your business over those last, 6 years?
6 years. Great. So even when I was managing other folks' venues, I'm also an event planner and a wedding planner outside the venue. So gaining a bit of reputation of just planning by itself, and then having a venue is just a bonus. So really knowing the market, even when not understanding the business, always knowing that customer service is it. Like ensuring that, I'm a person that loves to always over deliver. I'm a person where in business, knowing that if someone says, for example, I just had a 70th party this weekend, and, she says, I just want to have plain linen, something of plain linen. And when she came into the room, I upgraded all the linen. It didn't cost me anything to do that. But always like over deliver. It really catapulted our business to where we are today. So I think just really the service part, it's experience. I could say almost 70% of the business that we have are referrals. That's people who have experienced our services. And we're not perfect, but honestly, I think 70% of the business is just referrals. Oh, you did my sister's wedding when you just opened. It's also knowing the market and being very strategic. I'm a big person, and this is just my experience, in business, I'm a big person of knowing the market and understanding your demographic and seasons. Because what I was doing in practices before COVID did not work after COVID. The marketing I was doing before is not the same marketing. So really just understanding and being flexible. Always being flexible in knowing your market and following the trends, meaning just being in tune with what's happening on social media, even your neighborhood, just really being in tune is what really has our growth continuing till 2023.
Well, what are you looking at in terms of some of those indicators around trends and things like that? Are you looking at magazines? You said social media, I know, but you even said in your local, neighborhood community. What things are you looking at to kind of help you understand what those trends are and how you adapt to those?
Good question. So us personally, I'm very big social media. To me, learning when the first social media came out, I was one of the last ones to get on, like the TikTok, Instagram, all the Facebook girl. Like, I'm not doing that. That's for kids, But when if you post a photo and you see the clientele you're attracting, or people call you and ask you certain questions, or, I'm a person like, tell me your vision. What do you see? And you're seeing this. We ask a lot of questions. If I put out a campaign, I do a campaign, weekly campaign. And if I do a campaign, which is growing, that's another thing as well that helped me growing my newsletter and all the back office stuff. So if I put out a campaign, or just talking to people, or just seeing what's on social media, and the analytics or the numbers don't make sense, we immediately stop it. Like no, it's just, that's it. So ask a lot of questions. I do a lot of posing after questions like, what do you want to see at a wedding? I do a lot of those kind of real generating questions. I do a lot of follow-up feedback from my clients after an event. I really listen to our clients. I literally will call someone, or I literally say, hey, how can we improve? Feedback is very important. So those indicators are what I use to kind of know, okay, this month, this is what we're going to do for a promo, or this month we're going to offer this service. And I really kind of listen to what not only my client, but even guests that come into the building. My staff is really keen on listening to feedback from guests as well. So once we get that feedback, that's how we generate our marketing plans. And that's how we generate how we do business as far as what's the next step for occasions are made.
I love that you said that feedback loop is what you're following, because that's really the best way. Like, even though that's events that already happened, those are the experiences that your clients are writing about on social media, on, Yelp, wherever else they're posting, Google, right? You mentioned something though that was pretty cool. You said 70% of your business, or just around that mark, were not repeat customers, but like customers who came from, clients that you already had, right? Referrals, word of mouth type stuff. How do you feel like you keep that going and make sure that you're getting that consistency of word of mouth referrals, so that is a really good lead generation source? That's
a great question. So I do something where I I have people who are a guest at the venue, and then they will tell someone about the venue. That means that, to me, when I go back to where it comes to customer service and experience, I'll have a referral that says like, hey, Jonathan, I was a guest at so-and-so's wedding and it was beautiful, and they referred. So that means that person didn't even have interaction with leadership. They weren't sold anything, because let's be honest, we're going to pay attention to the client who paid. But when you have a guest who attended and referred just as a guest in the seat, maybe far back in the room, that's huge. So even with my clients, especially with my brides, if you book us, I'm sending you a bouquet of flowers. I'm just saying thank you for booking us. All my brides, well, let me say, majority of my brides, I don't want someone to watch it and be like, I didn't get no flowers. but majority of my brides, I always send something. Or, if you're coming back multiple times, especially when it's cold, I'm always sending like gift cards. I really take care of the clients that book us and refer us. And even at the venue, sometimes if there's an event going on, and especially like a baby shower or birthday party, and I have like extra Starbucks cards or something, I'm putting that underneath our guest seats. I just want the experience of what we've done to make it really pleasurable. So it's like, I have folks like, hey, someone just told me about vacation to me. They're driving by and they saw a wedding outside. So I really make sure the experience is great. And then that word of mouth really helps in us booking. So that's why I say 70%. I have people who, oh my goodness, I have people who we just opened our door from 2017 still referring people. And that's because I did one thing of remembered someone's birthday. So taking care of your clientele is massive to me.
Maxine, it sounds like you're saying that you're not just taking care of the bride, the groom, the couple that you're serving. It sounds like you're taking care of the guests too, because you're seeing them as potential word of mouth referrers, like they're referring you, or they're possible clients. So even though you've got 2 clients, you've got 100 guests at the wedding, you've got 98 people that might have some word in their mouth about what you guys are doing.
Absolutely. And that is so evident. As I mentioned before, our number one question I tell my venue coordinator always kind of asks, like, how did you hear about us? Oh, my friend attended a graduation there 2 years ago. I have folks on social media that says, I'm just dying to wait for an opportunity just to book your space. So really paying attention to everyone. And that's hard work, because you do sometimes have a team that may not be on the same mission as you, but it's definitely hard work to check the pulse of not only your clients, but their guests as well.
Got it. That's huge. This was kind of a look in marketing. You said you're on Instagram, right? Are you on TikTok now also, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And Facebook and some of those things. Do you use any sort of marketing directories? I know there's Wedding Wire, The Knot, Here Comes the Guy, all those different ones. Do you use any of those?
I do. And my experience, I've never been successful with wedding platforms. It would generate a lot of leads, but I would say from social media versus any of the wedding platforms, for our success rate, it wasn't successful. And I spent hundreds, especially when we first opened. I did, you put on Wedding Wire, Knot. I know they're one now, but Wedding Wire, The Knot, Event Detective. Like, I did all those things that I thought I was supposed to do. And I did it for 2 seasons and they were not successful for me. So I don't advertise on any of those wedding platforms. I do use a platform called Event Detective. I don't know if it's down. Yeah. So that wasn't successful in the beginning. And that's one of the things where I said that something that worked successful before COVID are now successful after. That platform wasn't successful, but the sales rep reached out to me, convinced me to try again. And I'm glad I did. But I stay away from those kind of platforms. So I do a lot of, the social media for sure, because what I've learned, a lot of people have short attention spans and they purchase with their eyes. So if I can put out a reel, TikTok that catches people, that's what our team focuses on now. And that's where I kind of put a lot of our advertising dollars to, and less of those wedding platforms. Even this season, I don't know if it'll change next year, but for this season, we kind of stay away from those wedding platforms.
Fair. I heard you say something pretty profound. And I think that, you were basically saying, you get a lot of leads from some of the platforms, but they don't necessarily translate to the bookings. It sounds like with your 70% referral rate, right? You're putting that money, that effort, that intention into taking care of your guests, which is actually giving you those extra referrals. And that might cost you some money and that might cost you some time, right? For your team and all that. But that's clearly where the bulk of your clientele is coming from, because the way you treat them, not because you're just marketing harder.
Absolutely. I learned too, as I said, a lot of trial and error. I didn't have like a mentor per se. So a lot of trial and error and listening, and almost like my mother would say, putting myself in someone else's shoe, like how do I want to be treated kind of deal. So we're really hands-on, and for us, that has been successful. Now, I know when I worked at other venues, it's really like pumping those marketing dollars, but it sometimes it's hit and miss. And because the market, from when I opened my venue to now, the venue in Atlanta has probably quadrupled. It's so hard sometimes. I book a lot of clients too, where, I'm just booking you because you answered the phone. Everyone's really into systems and voicemails and checking. We still answer our phone. We still, pick up the phone. We still call you back. I don't like putting prices online. I like to touch my clients. So I'm still doing a lot of the old school stuff where people like, no system, put your calendar online and book online. I don't like that. I don't like that. I feel like it felt impersonable, and I like touching my clients. So those are kind of the things that for us, we still kind of intertwine the social media, but I still make sure that we're touching our clients. Does that make sense?
100%. It makes so much sense. I'm out here nodding because like that, it's tough because you want to be a smart business person, right? You want to keep up with the trends. You want to make sure you're using automations and all the different tools. And, there's AI now and all that, but you could very easily use those automations and use AI and use the phone systems and all that as a crutch for not getting in and like you said, touching people in the way that you do. And that's what sets you apart. I mean, people are buying an experience, right?
Definitely.
So, yeah, it sounds like, yeah, you know that you've hit on something. I'm curious, where are you at this year as far as bookings? Like, could you give us kind of an overview of in 2017, where did you start with bookings? How have you grown or flexed over the years? I think this would be helpful for new venue owners, or maybe even someone who's in there, they're thinking about buying a venue and they're like, okay, what can we expect? No,
awesome. So we're definitely doing much better. And piggyback on the AI, like we do use AI, but we use it more like knocking out our newsletter, locking out our copy. We're still using it per se, but still using it to touch folks. But 2017, when we first started, we were doing, oh my gosh, maybe like 4 events a month. And we thought we were rock star. Like, oh my gosh, we got 4 events every Saturday. You can tell it's nothing. That's 2017. Now on a typical Saturday, we're doing 4 events a day, right? 4 events a day. So we've set ourselves up where we have 2 time slots. So since I have the 2 venue spaces, the smaller and the larger. So in the mornings are like baby showers, book releases, dinner parties. That's anywhere from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. You have to exit the building at 4. And then we have an evening slot. That evening slot, if we have a 4 p.m. exit, that evening slot would start at 8 p.m. That means that the client has access to the venue at 7. So then we have time to do a room flip. So so a typical weekend, before we were doing 4 events a month, we thought we were knocking it out the park. Now we're doing 3 to 4 events a day because we've set up our time fitting too. I'm always a person like, how can we squeeze occasions on me? Like I'm always saying that in meetings, like, how can we get the most of the business sense, but not compromise what we do? So with that being said, so as a weekend, we may like have 7 or 8 events because we're knocking out those Friday evenings. We're slipping the room on Saturdays. And then typically on Sundays, we only have 1 event because Sundays this year is not popular. But I remember a couple of years ago, Sundays were sold out. So Sundays are more like lenient. So I don't do the 4, and this is where I'm listening to clients. So Sundays, the beginning of the year, we weren't really booking it because I had this 4 o'clock exit evening time slot. But I realized about about March that those 2 events Sundays weren't working anymore. So now we kind of teeter-totter our hours where you can end at 6, and that kind of catapulted where we're booking on Sundays. We're fully booked on Sundays until October 28th on a Sunday, versus when I was still trying to do the same 2 events on Saturday, it wasn't working. And that goes back to, okay, what's going on? Why don't we book this person? What's happening? Like, what's going on? So definitely more events. I have a leadership team. Go ahead.
Well, I was curious, how far in advance are you booking, or you're seeing people asking for events?
I just opened up my 2025 books last week. Typically, I only do 365 just because anything could happen and it's business. But I just opened my 2025 only because I had a couple brides that came back to me twice. And I'm like, that's stupid if you're not going to book them. Like, you know what I mean? So what I do is just take like a minimal deposit, and then I only take 7 payments. I don't need your income for anything. So I only take 7 payments. So the nominal deposit will kind of hold your date, and then their payments probably won't start until the ending of 2024 or something like that. But usually only a year in advance.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. This is so cool to hear. I think a lot of venues that I've talked to so far have been venues that are in more rural areas, and it sounds like you're definitely in a more urban environment. A lot of the venues I talk to only do 1 event per day. When you're doing multiple events a day, I can imagine that puts stress on your team, right? They got to flip the room. They got to make sure everything is, nice and ready for the next group to come in, so there's not remnants of the earlier party. When it comes to pricing for something like that, and totally fair if you don't want to give me any exact prices or anything, but like if there's a ballpark range, what range are you in for a day that you have to do, or that you are doing 2 events versus doing 1 event for the whole entire day?
Okay. So if we're doing 2 events a day, that day will probably be anywhere from like $22,000 to $25,000 a day.
Okay.
Because of the pricing point that's on that day. But then again, as I said, it's a learning as well. So it's kind of a funny thing. My clients are going to, hold on, wait. I want to say something, but it's in business, right? And I've always had the opportunity. So it's kind of a funny thing. So certain mindset of certain clients book a different kind of way. For example, like when we do our day event, we do hourly rentals, but then we're all inclusive. We separate the decor and catering and all that in the day event packages, which crazy leads us to more income. In the evening mindset of the person booking in the evening, they don't want hourly. They want an all-inclusive package. So we've learned through trial and error, which is so weird, is that if someone's booking in my market in the day, they want to separate everything itemized. They want, okay, the venue is this much an hour, but I want to add my catering, my DJ, my decor is separate. That's the day mindset and we discovered that like on accident. But the person that's booking an evening party does not want that. They want the convenience of give me that one bulk number. So when I discovered that, that's how it kind of increased our profit line, because it was like, I understand the mindset of the person booking a day slot is different than the evening slot, which it's still kind of weird to me. I still don't understand it, but it works, because I was pushing the same evening in the mornings, and it doesn't work. It for our market, it doesn't work. So when I realized that, that's how we were able to start doing 2 events a day, because the morning slot person doesn't want to pay $10,000. In the morning. However, their invoice will probably end up almost there when they separate everything. It's still kind of weird, but so that's why I was able. And then we start our weeks on Wednesdays. So by Thursday, all the parties are already pulled for the entire weekend. So when we're doing a room flip, the only thing that we're doing is just pulling from that section of the table and just flipping out. So everything's already set Thursday. Like today is Thursday. My team is already there pulling everything until Sunday. So everything is very like charted, organized. We just have a piece of paper, 100 of our chairs, 20 napkins are folded, glassware are pulled. Everything's already pulled for Sunday. So it makes it so much easier to do roll flip and so much easier to do multiple events a day.
So I have so many questions. This is so cool. So basically let's say so this Saturday, do you have 2 events?
I had 3 events.
3 events on Saturday.
Correct.
Got it. And then you have 1 event on Sunday?
I have 1 event this Sunday, yes.
Okay. And then on Friday, tomorrow, you have 1 event?
1 event, correct. Okay,
so you're going 1, 3, 1, but you are pulling today everything for all 5 events.
Absolutely, yes.
Got it. So you're kind of, everything's there, the chairs are there, everything, and then the stuff that you're not using on Friday is ready for Saturday's 3 events, but then the stuff on Sunday is also there makes total sense. So I have all the questions. How logistically do you have 5 sets of silverware? Because you're doing everything in house. Are you doing is there a catering kitchen in there? Or are you contracting with another vendor for food? Like, how's the arrangement of how you incorporate food, bar, all those different things?
Good question. So we have a contracted caterer. So we cater outsourced, but we supply all the glassware, flatware, all that good stuff. So we have a drop-off service, which is still in-house, a list of folks. So that's where I said everything's all-inclusive. You can find your caterer, your DJ. So it is very strategic, and this is why we have our meetings every Wednesday. We use a platform called Dubsado. It's almost like Honeybooks.
Yeah. Super familiar with it. Yeah.
Right. So we use that platform. So we use that subcontract meeting notes kind of deal where every client that we meet with, I'm giving you all the tips and secrets and all that stuff, but that's what I'm here for. That's what we got to do.
Well, that's honestly, we started the Venue RX in 2020 because when we got in the industry in 2018, we looked around and there wasn't anything. Like, you could hire some consultants, and I've become friends with them now, and they've got a great, incredible service, but not everyone can pay the price point to hire that consultant to come in and do that. You said YouTube University, and that's what this is for. So I'm so appreciate this. This is awesome.
No, I'm awesome. I'm glad I'm glad I'm able to just share. But so we use the platform Dubsado just to keep us organized. So when a client meets with us, we have something called a design mock meeting. When they come in, we do a mock table. We do a semi-example, just miniaturize what their table is going to look like. We put all the notes in Dubsado. They have to sign off an initial, hey, I'm having, 40 chairs, black covers, 40 linens, glassware, tea lights, table numbers, literally everything you can think of, it's in that Dubsado document. They sign it, they print it, and that's what the team uses to pull. When I first started, I used to rent a lot of my inventory, but now we own a lot of our inventory, which makes it easier to do rule flips and so forth. So a lot of the items, for example, we have 300 glassware. So a lot of the items, I have one designated person. My son teacher works in the business. If he opens a party, he won't close the party. So after, say, for example, Friday night when the catering is over, he'll take everything and he'll go and he'll wash everything set up. Even if we don't need it, because anything can happen. So even if we don't need it, every night, everyone is washing everything, dishwasher, all that stuff, but still sets us up. For example, Sunday baby shower or only using disposables, but we're still washing and doing everything because guess what? I may want to upgrade their disposables to real flatware and glassware. So when they walk in, it's like, oh my God, so that's a part of the service. So we're very strategic on pulling everything and making sure at every night, everything is clean. Now, when COVID was happening, we're only doing 1 event a day.
Yeah.
So that happened. We only did 1 event a day. But now that we're back in the safe zone, everything is pulled and organized and cleaned every night. And typically, we're pretty good. We have good inventory. For example, Saturday using white lid, but Sunday using ivory linens. So we're pretty good on inventory. And remember, since we know from the meeting maybe about 30 days before what's needed, everything's always kind of prepped. So if I feel like the only time I rent something is, I think we have 30 ivory linens. And if everyone's using that same type of linen, I'll just go ahead and rent 10 for backup. Just because I know that, okay, we're not going to have time to drop this at the wash and stuff like that. But other than that, we're pretty good You have to have systems. So inventory systems, laundry days. So that's how we keep organized to make sure that we have enough for the weekend and that we're able to flip and clean. But catering is the only one that is outsourced, but every vendor like balloons is in-house, flowers is in-house. We have everything is delivered on Wednesday. The Wednesday team will cut the flowers, set them in water, then the floor. So myself, we start making flowers the night before. So everything is almost like a conveyor belt almost, kind of just knocking it out.
So the big question in my mind when I'm hearing all this is as you transition from renting stuff, it would still be in-house, but you were renting it, you had a supplier, to now owning some of the rental inventory. What do you do for storage?
I have a huge storage in the building. So the building is about 6,500 square feet. So maybe it's on the back end of the building. So we probably have about a 1,600 square feet kind of storage. And my husband is extremely handy. So when you walk in, there's like linens hanging on the wall. There's like racks. So that's his department. I just say, hey, I need this. And that's his department. So we also have furniture. So furniture during the week, I do like a supermarket, like a department store. So we always have like show windows. So if you walk by our window, we'll have like a couch and like, drapery or anything. So we interchange the furniture, using it during the week at display. And then when we have events, we just throw them in the storage. So we do have a huge storage unit. We're in the process of looking for another venue. And the next venue definitely has to have a larger storage unit. We do not want to rent, pay for storage. So the venue that we're looking at now is huge, and it'll have like a larger storage where we'll kind of keep all the big items there and then just keep the smaller items at the venue.
Yeah. Wow. This is awesome. Thank you so much for just like sharing and everything. I'm curious for when you do catering, you have that relationship with those outside folks. When you're booking them, so someone comes and tours. Actually, speaking of which, before we get to that, how are you doing tours? Like if you're going Friday, 3 on Saturday, you're probably not touring anyone on Saturday, right?
Good question. So when we first opened, I used to tour people on the weekend because I figured it's a great time to tour people on the weekend because the room's set up, it's an easy sale, and it was great, but it was extremely stressful. So we do not offer tours on the weekends anymore. Our hours are Tuesday to Friday from 10:30 to 4:30. We actually lose clients because we don't open like after hours, but it always makes it more like a demand. So it's like we used to do tours like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. and it was too busy and it was too stressful. So tours are not, when they ask us to, we don't do tours on the weekends anymore. Fridays we close at 4 because sometimes we have wedding rehearsals in the evenings or a party that starts at 7. But tours are only during those business hours. If you can't tour, obviously we send you to our social media and all that stuff. So you always have to make sure that you're structuring your business so you don't get a burnout from the team, and then the clientele will know like, hey, the accommodations are worked on both ends. But when we first opened the first 2 years, we were doing tours on weekends. But it's so funny now that we do not do tours on weekend, we make our income is tripled more because, as I said, it's more of the caliber of our services versus just being the availability. Because now that we don't do tours on the weekend, we're making more money. It's kind of weird, but I just feel like when we kind of said these are our business hours and this is what we do, it made it less stressful for the team and it makes my mind more organized. So we do not offer tours on the weekends anymore.
Fair. And you probably constraining your tour times means that your clients are kind of like, this is a high value property. This is a high value space. I need to come in and I better adjust my schedule to what they can fit me in for. Otherwise, I'm going to miss out on the opportunity to book.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, we have lost people where, I work until 4. So that's why when we're mindful, when we book couples, especially with weddings, we let them know, hey, our meetings are going to happen during business hours, and our meetings for like catering tastings, cake tastings, signature drinks, they happen on Wednesdays and Thursdays, typically between 1 and 3. So we let them know even before they book us, like, hey, we don't do things on the weekends, so some clients are like, that's not feasible. Respectfully, we're good, but it makes sense for our business to keep everything in business hours. And we've been doing that actually since after COVID 2019, and it's been working beautifully.
That's very cool. Very cool. I want to transition just a little bit. Well, actually, one more question. So when someone comes and books with you and you're like, boom, all inclusive, you said it was, about $22,000, let's say, for the whole day, all together, maybe, right? And let's say you have 2 or 3 clients and they want, a coffee, like a beverage station, and then someone wants a continental breakfast or lunch or whatever. Someone wants a dinner option, whatever. And so you've got all these different things. Do you have 3 different packages that you give that you've kind of prearranged with the catering company? Do you just kind of say you have a certain budget and then they go to the catering company and just kind of pick whatever they want, and any excess they arrange with the caterer? Like, how do you handle that catering side and allowing them to customize enough to make it like theirs, but not so much where it's, operational disaster?
Good question. So we customize everything. So when I first started, I did exactly what you were saying. I would have certain packages, and this is what we offered in the price range. We no longer do that. We customize everything, and we kind of dictate what is going to be your menu. So we have an extensive menu, a gourmet menu, like crab cakes, shrimp, filet mignon, anything that's like a filet or shrimp or extra fees. So when we speak to a client, the first thing we say, because, it's business and it's marketing, you have to be directed and your business. So the first thing we say when we're doing a tasting, especially, hey, we're going to make sure you try the most popular items. So I'm going to be honest, we dictate what that menu is going to be even before, because everyone wants the most popular item. Everybody wants the best thing that tastes the greatest. We have our menu this long, but we always end up selling right here because we know that that's going to be the most cost efficient, easiest for our client. So we have clients like in November, she wants to have a brisket, a filet mignon. We have that on the menu. She's paying for it. But when you do a tasting, we're directing you where we want you to go, even though we have plenty of options. And I don't know how we do it, but we're successful. The team doesn't like it because we have the same menu every weekend, but it's very successful. We kind of dictate where the menu is. But of course, if we have a client that wants something that's not, we customize everything. So if someone says, hey, I want this and it's not on the menu, we make it definitely happen. And that's why we do those catering meetings and those tasting meetings. So someone requested something that we don't have, you're going to try it at the catering tasting, and they will inclusive that. And then there is going to be a price difference. Just know that, and we say this, it's on our paperwork. Anything that's not on the menu, we can make it happen, but it's going to be an extra fee. So clients like when you customize things for them, even though they're paying the extra fee, they love that you've catered to them, and the extra fee doesn't matter because you catered to them. That's something that's on your menu. So we streamline it, but it works well how we streamline it. But we do have offerings, and we price per person. So that's another thing. Clients would say you may be too expensive or out the budget, but we always tell our client, well, you control your budget because our pricing is per person. So if it's over your budget, then we may have to alter your guest count a little bit,
Please not get invited.
Right. But when we first started, we were doing like packages, but you get stuck in cookie cutter when you do packages.
Mm. I love that you said you guided them. Like, even though you have all the options, you guide them towards kind of what you think they'd like. So it sounds like you say, hey, this is what's really popular. This is the direction you should be looking. And then if they're like, hey, I gotta have the crab cakes or I gotta have the shrimp. Okay, no problem. Like, you can make that happen for a fee. They're happy that they're able to do it, but at least you kind of started to show, you've kind of like channeled them. And then with it channeling, they are customizing things.
Absolutely.
But you're pointing that one direction or not.
That's exactly. And our caterer loves us too because, our vendor relationships are awesome. So the more bidders I shoot them, I don't want to get any financial compensation. I just want to know if my clients want something that's out of the world, you're going to make it happen because I give you so much business, So I have a client this weekend. It's a baby shower. She wants chicken and waffles, but she wants her waffles made fresh. We just have a prep room. So we're not set up to do full cooking, but she wants her waffles made fresh. And I told her we're going to make it happen. Yeah. So Catering will make it happen because I shoot them so much business. So we have a good working relationship with our vendors as well.
The vendors that you have, are they getting publicity or something through your venue? Or is it kind of like everyone's going to Occasions on Main and then that vendor is inside of, it's kind of like the engine that's hidden under the hood?
You got it. It's an engine at the hood because, for instance, my baker, she did all our baking and she was doing her own business, but we've given her so much business, it doesn't even make sense for her to kind of like build her own brand. So, all the vendors are under the Occasions on Main umbrella. We give them shout outs on our social media and so forth, but when you come into Occasions on Main, you're not booking like Jonathan's Catering. You're booking like the chef catering Occasions on Main. You're not booking like, Jonathan Balloons. You're booking like the Max Speak Group. Because remember, I'm a planner too. So everything's under our own kind of umbrella kind of deal. And it makes it easier because clients only want to write one check. They only want to make one payment. They don't want to pay catering bill here, vendor bill here. They just want one exactly. And we get event insurance. So when we get the event insurance, it covers everybody. It covers the client, it covers vendor. It just makes it very, very seamless. It's an easier process.
Totally. That's awesome. Maxine, you're crushing it. That's so cool to hear.
Thank you.
Man, gosh, we're wrapping up here. And we could literally have a 3-hour, one of those Joe Rogan style podcasts.
Right.
Talking about all the things, but I have basically 2 more questions for you. Well, 3 more, but the last 2 questions I always ask are, what's your favorite part about venue ownership? And then what's your least favorite part? So I'm going to ask you that in a second, but before we do that, the final question I had is, what's the future look like for you? I mean, I know you said you're looking at another venue. Are you looking to get out of the day-to-day more and hire some more operational people? It sounds like you're looking to buy another venue. What are you looking to do in the next couple of years as you look at kind of your business plans?
Oh, thank you. So I'm not really in the day-to-day right now. I'm at the venue definitely on Wednesdays to make sure, everything is great. I have a great leadership team. I'm actually hiring right now because definitely seeing myself, I want to do scalable like franchises. So I see Occasions on Main globally. I was born in Canada, so I definitely want to have 3 venues in Atlanta, 1 in Canada, 1 in Miami. And we just purchased property in Belize. So I want to have like an all-inclusive where a couple that gets married here, you can get a honeymoon package and everything is just, I'm into service and just like a one-stop shop. Like, I just want you to come here, you get married, you plan your honeymoon, you come back, you have your baby, you have your baby shower with us, your anniversaries. So definitely this year, we're purchasing another building. We tried to do a couple buildings last year, but folks in Atlanta got money. So I don't know where they get this kind of money from, and I'm into ownership because, as I said, I saw a lot of the folks that I used to manage their venue. They weren't owners, and some of them lost them during the pandemic. So I'm really into ownership. So definitely a global brand, and that's why I'm hiring now to kind of relay my system. So I definitely want to be global and at least 1 more venue this year and 2 venues next year.
Awesome.
That's what I see myself. And doing stuff like this, I planned, it was so weird that you reached out and we were talking because I was telling my husband, like, in a couple of years, I just want to teach about ownership and venues and talk about my experiences because, I really learned by trial and error. So when I saw your DM, I wasn't going to respond because I was like, this is a fraud. This is fake. There's no way that I was speaking about this and I see this and I'm like, these are the questions I'm asking you. I'm like, are you going to call me? You're like, no, I'm missing your Zoom. I'm like, this is fake, honey. This is fake. Then I went on YouTube and I was like, well, he's legit. And my husband's like, well, he's not in Georgia. He's going to come kidnap you or something. I just like, this is going I was just saying to him that I wanted to get more in a stage where I want to like help serious people. I get a lot of DMs people don't want to do the work for themselves. They just want you to like tell the answer. So I wanted to be in a position, just kind of be available for folks who are serious, not just, how do I do this? You do this, and then it doesn't work, you quit. Because it's work and it's tenacity. But the second question, the least thing I hate about this business is the day of the event, because I love my clients, especially weddings and baby showers, all the planning with weddings. And then it's like the day of, I'm just like, it's over, and it's stressful and meeting the needs. And I love my demanding brides because we always hit it out the park. Did a wedding wire review that this bride admitted she was the bridezilla. I couldn't believe it. But I love those brides because they keep me on my toes. So the day when the wedding happens, it's like, but then on to the next. So that's the least part that I like about the business. And the best part, I just like that I'm able to do something and plan that it's for my family. Because my kids, my son works with me now. My daughter doesn't want anything to do with the business, but she still works. She's 13. She still kind of helps out. But I love the fact that, pardon?
I said she'll come around.
No, she doesn't. We have to pay her. She's 13. She have to pay her, but she wants to be a doctor. But I love the fact that I was able. My mom was a single mom of 4, so I was able to kind of go through all the things that was stacked up against me and become a successful entrepreneur. It's kind of cool. I was a teen mom. I had my son when I was 16. So it's kind of cool that I was able to combat all the things that were against me and then become a successful entrepreneur, provide jobs for people. I have a nonprofit too. It's so cool when I look back at my life. I'm really proud that I'm able to have something that I know that it will leave a legacy to my kids, through my clients and everything. That's most of what I'm happy that I'm able to do.
That's so cool. That's awesome. Maxine, thank you so much for coming on the Venue RX today. This has been...
Thank you for having me. No, thank you. It's a privilege and a pleasure. Thank you for thinking of me what made you even pick me? I feel so honored.
Well, I'm really happy. I know we were doing a lot of research, and when we get off the show, we'll chat a little bit more about, what we're doing and what our vision is for the industry and what we're trying to build the Venue RX to be. So okay. Thank you. I appreciate your time coming on the show, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thank you. Bye, everyone.